let go.
Who's Queen?
Out of intrigue, how many Robin Hobb books have you read?
How many have you skipped?
How many?
Readers,
Reviewers,
countrymen,
lend us your ears. And a huge thank you to all of our Patreons.
Thank you to the Pit Fighters, the First Swords, and all of the Bright Stars, Truth and Courage. Hello, welcome to the channel. I am Ed, this is my brother Will, and we're going to be doing a video about our favourite female authors.
And why are we doing that, Ed?
It is Women's History Month,
it
March,
is
and we would love to talk about more authors.
So we're going to be talking about our favourite female authors, not ranked, not our favourite book by them. Usually, well, in all cases actually, talking about a book one of a series or a standalone that we think you could dive into that exhibits all the attributes that we love about this author.
But we have to have read more than one book by the author in question.
That is true. These are authors that we'd recommend their works broadly. Of course, we haven't read everything.
That's not true. Okay, yeah, that is true.
Okay, that is true. There's a lot of authors that I've read one book that I've loved, but it couldn't be in this list. So we had to add something to kind of restrict it slightly, or we'd have about 40, 50 different recommendations.
Basically, Will was going to recommend
that.
Hilary Mantel, so I had to find a way to kind of nerf that.
That is just wrong.
I vetoed it. Good job I didn't Sunny, though. That's just a Gwynne joke. That
Michael Corleone.
Oh, yeah.
The Godfather. But anyway, let's get into the recommendations for Women's History Month. Ed, kick it off with the first recommendation.
I would never kick this book because there are a lot of animals in this book. So my favourite female author by a long shot is Manda Scott. And her first book that I read was Dreaming the Eagle, which is the story of Boudica. This has the best prologue of all time. It has some of the best characters of all time. My favourite historical fiction characters ever. This book reads so just beautifully at times, so quick at other times. It's such a perfect balance of what a book should be. And I read books to cry. I won't lie. I read books to feel
some self-inflicted pain.
Yeah, this book, gave me a lot of pain, anxiety, anguish. It's just the whole lot.
Sorrow, tension, suspense,
I
betrayal,
was so worried for these characters.
heartwarming.
But we follow two main characters. One of them is called Breaker, and one of them is her half-brother, Bad. And both of them are part of the Akani tribe. And we are finding out about Celtic cultures. This is the period where the Romans were invading Britain. And it is just written superbly. Now, I think the bulk of our viewers are fantasy fans. So if you want to find a writer who delivers the same gut punches that Robin Hobb delivers with her characters, the same beauty in her prose, then read Manda Scott. I don't think you will find anyone else who will come close to Robin Hobb. I'm definitely a Robin Hobb stan. So, but yeah. I
think that's the great way to pitch it. You have called Manda Scott the historical fiction version of Robin Hobb.
Yeah, she's the queen in my opinion. She's the queen of everything, of the world. 100%. Manda Scott is amazing. Her writing is beautiful. The animals in this book are incredible. I mean, this series was definitely a heavy inspiration on The Faith and the Fallen for Papa Gwynne.
I was going to say Papa Gwynne has endorsed this as the #1 historical fiction series he would recommend for fantasy lovers. It's got that epicness, it's got that intimacy, it's got everything you want to read. So I love this series. Nice, Ed. And sorry, I finished my sentence, so you had to rush your sips there, didn't you? But first up for me... Was I rushing or was I dragging? Whiplash. Anyway, that's reference number 2 for today. Come on, we've got The Godfather and Whiplash done already. But next up, we've got Shauna Lawless. She has written the Ghoul Song trilogy with some novellas along the way as well. Read 2 of them. Absolutely awesome. Read all 3 of this main series. They are fantastic as well. And Shauna Lawless is a newer author. This first book came out in 2022, I believe. Yes. And it's just been incredible. It is on my birthday. Was it? Yeah. No way. This is historical like fantasy. Smeagol, it's my birthday. Well, reference number 3. Done. Doing tick. Well. Shauna Lawless is a historical fantasy writer. We are thrust into late 10th century, early 11th century Ireland. We are looking at the conflict between the Irish and the Vikings. This cultural difference, the alliances, the conflict, the warfare. And then on top of that, we've got the mythology. We've got... What do you mean by Vikings? I think it's a broad term. The Norse tribes who lived in Ireland, actually. But then on top of that, we've got the mythological element, the Irish mythology. I'm going to butcher the Tuatha De Danann and the Fomoriae. I was going to say, thank you, Ed. Thank you. And these are two rival groups who have magical powers and they can live a lot longer, but one of them thinks they have destroyed the other. No such thing has happened, but there's still an enmity continuing. And
Embers remain in the fire.
Nice said. And so we've got this conflict on a historical basis and then the mythological playing into that role as well. And Shauna Lawless does a fantastic job with political machinations, especially with characters, her two leading POVs, the only two in book one, and they continue to be the main ones throughout the series, are characters who have very little agency. They are women acting in a time of obviously patriarchal society. And the way that they find agency and find ways to help others, as well as how they're restricted, is just fantastically handled by Shauna Lawless. And it really clicked with me.
And this is obviously a complete passion of hers. She is Irish, she loves Irish mythology, and you can feel that passion within the book, within the reading, and it makes you... It's infectious, which is something I love about Shauna Lawless's writing. And I think she's paving the way for fantasy and historical fiction and historical fantasy authors because she's releasing novellas that supplement her books as well. And these novellas are being released by the publishers as well, by her trad publishers, which is just fantastic. And there is another one on the way. And these novellas really paint a different picture, which is, I would say, a necessity for you to really engage in this trilogy. So they're fantastic additions.
Very nice. And it's been awesome to see Kristen Mads and Michael Kist reading this series as well. So I'm looking forward to seeing more of their thoughts. And let's just share the love for the Ghoul Song.
Yeah, absolutely. Jade City by Fonda Lee. Now, Fonda Lee is one of my most recent additions to this list because just last week I finished Jade Legacy, and I quickly discovered when I dived into Jade City what a natural writer Fonda Lee was, what a way of writing characters she does, and that she has a really good eye for character beats, for moments that give these characters, moments of agency, really incredible action sequences. And they've got a lot of depth to them. A lot of these books, a lot of this, the Jade trilogy, is centered on the Green Bone saga. Sorry, not the Jade trilogy. A lot of these moments a lot of page time is centered towards giving these characters depth, and she achieves that completely. Like, it's one of the deepest swimming pools, probably of all time. So, Jade City, it's got great action, as I said. It's got a fantastic premise. It's got you're in this metropolis, this urban fantasy landscape where gangs are at war with each other over the jade, which is what they wear, and it gives them powers. It's a little bit like Spice from Dune. It's this necessity that they need to survive, to function. It's almost like a drug to these people. And you follow, lots of people say it's inspired by The Godfather, because you follow a family who are a gang, like Peaky Blinders as well, like any kind of gangster film that we've seen. Yeah. And you follow their rising, and then eventually, what happens after they've risen?
They stay at the top.
They probably stay. Maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
Find out in Jade Legacy, because that book spans a long period of time. But Fonda Lee is a great writer. I would always think of these books fondly. I had to say it, I'm sorry. But yeah, I've been really, really excited about Fonda Lee's writing. Now, I do think sometimes her writing isn't as subtle as maybe some of the other authors on this book. It's definitely more in your face, but I wouldn't say that detracts from the reading experience. I would say that you are getting exactly what Fonda Lee wants the reader to experience and feel, and it's really, really powerful.
Nice, Ed.
Thank you.
So far we've talked about fantasy, historical fantasy and historical fiction. Now taking a turn to some modern fiction, I've got Normal People by Sally Rooney. Very different from what we usually read. Mm-hmm. And it was a bit of a leap of faith for me when I originally read Normal People, and I adored it.
There's not a single sword.
No swords.
Which is... It does put me off, but at the same time... I still enjoy it.
We've got to broaden our horizons, Ed.
We do.
And I'm very glad I did with The Normal People. Since then, I've also read Conversations with Friends and Beautiful World, Where Are You? I have not yet read Sally Rooney's latest release, Intermezzo, but I'm looking forward to diving in. Of her 3 books, I really enjoyed Conversation with Friends, and I loved Normal People and Beautiful World, Where Are You? I thought they're both sensational books. And it just accesses part of the human condition that's so hard to discuss. Sally Rooney looks at character relationships like I've never seen them done before, especially over a longer period of time. Her books manage to find people who they've got these magnetic draws to each other, but not in a way that really comes across annoying or fictitious. It feels real and organic, and it is just so unique. I think Sally Rooney manages to kind of explore this psychological element without coming across as pretentious, because there is a philosophical edge to her stories, but I think it's a really great balance. It's not kind of forcing a message down your throat. It's not telling you how to live your life, but it has some moral messages embedded within there, whether it was intentional or not. Maybe. We'll never know. Or maybe if I watch an interview and she says it, but I don't know at the moment. No, but these are books that really just speak to me in a very different way than everything else. I love fantasy. I love historical fantasy. I love historical fiction. And each genre has their own different strengths, and this just feels so unique. And of course, when it's set in the modern day of characters that when I read this were the same age as me, now they're a few years younger. Wow, I'm getting older.
You are an old man.
I'm getting older.
That's what I feel like when I watch the Olympics and I'm sitting there eating my Ben & Jerry's fish food, best ice cream out there, and I'm just like, oh, I mean, that was a rubbish jump. And then I'm like, they're 16, you know, and they're getting bronze.
They're nearly half your age.
Oh, sorry, I suddenly.
Oh, let me get your stick for you.
Someone call an ambulance, but not for me.
But not for me. But anyway, Sally Rooney.
Ever want to dig me out about my age again?
Sorry,
and you'll have to go back to
you paved the way for
YouTube.
me. We don't talk about that.
We don't talk about.
But you paved the way for me as the older brother.
Macheted the path.
You did machete the path. But who introduced you to Blood Meridian, Ed?
Well, you did say hello. And I shook its hand.
There we go.
Actually, it was your lecturer.
No, my lecturer introduced it to me.
You can't live life by saying, who introduced you to Blood Meridian? We went out for dinner last week and, you know, got to paying. Obviously, as the older brother, I was going to pay anyway. But Will said, Ed, remember who introduced you to Blood Meridian? Unbelievable, Will.
That never happened.
Really?
That never happened.
That's not true.
That is...
Okay, yeah, that is
No,
true.
it's not. It's not true.
Oh, dear.
I will deny that. But Sally Rooney, fantastic author, another one that I recommend. And part of this video, we wanted to introduce a wide variety of authors that we love.
Yeah.
And so far, I think we're doing an alright job. 4 different genres in 4 recommendations.
Yeah, I'm a fan of Rooney.
Were you going to make a Wayne Rooney joke?
I wasn't a fan of his spell in America. But,
right, okay.
But when he went back to Everton, yeah, great.
Don't act like a football fan.
The thing is, though, his coaching hasn't been top spot, really, has it? Unfortunately, Sally Rooney is an author I highly recommend. It's his antics off the pitch that really got to me.
Oh, really?
We'll get into that later.
Oh, really? Okay, next up.
It's the crux, really. But A Woman of the Sword by Anna Smith Spark. So Anna Smith Spark is the Grimdark Queen. I've read 5 of her books now. I know 6 of her books, because she did have a collab with another Grimdark great, Michael Fletcher.
So is this the book that Philip Chase recently reviewed?
That is A Sword of Bronze and Ashes.
Oh, okay.
Now, what is confusing is that Anna Smith Spark, I believe they're with different publishers as well, released 2 books very close to one another about mothers and their family. And they all, not quite have the same premise, but, you know, we're following this same type of character in 2 separate books.
Have you read both?
I have read both.
Which did you prefer?
Hence why I'm holding this one. This is my favourite one by her. Her first trilogy is a Grimdark Odyssey. It's incredible. It's like a heavy metal album. But this is my favourite book because one thing that's always grabbed me with Anna Smith Spark is her prose that is sharp enough. You know, in Rambo, when his knife cuts through paper. Yeah. Like, her prose is that sharp.
Wow.
I think her prose reminds me of as if Cormac McCarthy wrote Sword and Sorcery, which to me is a wicked concept.
Nice.
Like, I wish.
Has Anna Smith Spark ever mentioned Cormac McCarthy?
I don't know, but all I know is that she's a great writer and her visceral storytelling really pulls me in. Mm-hmm. It's like a Dyson. So A Woman of the Sword, Anna Smith Spark, is my favourite book by her because not only does she have this sharp prose, but she has a really relatable central character of a mother who's looking after her 2 sons. And she is a veteran of war. She is famous. You know, she was a hero or a villain from other people's perspectives. And she gets taken up into this war with her old band again. But she's got her young sons with her. And through the years, as the years progress, her sons get older. They see her in slightly different ways. And Anna Smith Spark really plays with seeing the mother figure in different ways and seeing how that drives a wedge between the two siblings. And the way that she wrote the relationship, it just felt so real. It felt just incredible. It was an amazing experience. And the ending was heartbreaking, so this book really had that emotional pull for me. But I would say definitely go check out Anna Smith Spark if you want some really grimdark writing, if you want unconventional storytelling, if you want prose, it is incredible. And specifically this book, out of all of hers, if you want that really emotional pull, like Orca Skullsplitter, like Misaki from Sword of Kaigen. You've got these mother figures. Her character in here is, I believe her name is Lide, sorry. Lide is on that level as well. And
you have a review of this book on the channel, don't you?
I do. That's nice of you to plug. Thank you. Yeah, so
there you go. Go watch that.
And I even read a sequence, which I believe reminded me of a passage from the Volsung saga.
Very nice.
It might be the Volsung.
Very nice.
Anyway, great.
Go read it. Go watch that review for the reading. Next up for me, we've talked about this author already. It is Robin Hobb.
Wait, why are you... shouldn't I be talking about Robin Hobb's books? Because you haven't read Live Ships? This is the first video I get to say I have read the first book of Live Ships.
That is true.
Will hasn't.
Well done. You get off. Let go. Let go. All those cameras go off, there'll be trouble. Well done for reading the first book of Live Ships.
Who's Queen?
Out of intrigue, how many Robin Hobb books have you read?
How many have you skipped?
How many?
How many have you had the chance to read?
Don't be a politician. Don't be a politician.
The thing is, though, you had the opportunity to read the trilogy.
No answer.
And you said,
no answer.
Fits. Have you read the Rainwild trilogy?
How many books by Robin Hobb have you read?
I bet I've read more books than you've skipped. That doesn't make sense. I bet you've skipped more books than I've read.
How many books have you read by Robin Hobb?
6.
How many Robin Hood books have you read?
Who? Robin Hood.
And actually 7. It's alright.
You've skipped 7?
Rainwild's got 4 books in it.
It's a trilogy, is it not?
No.
Is it not?
Why don't you check it there?
I wouldn't admit
That's
that.
That's alright though. It's okay. Still, I've read 9 books. Ed's read 4.
Have you read The Piebald Prince?
No, but I look forward to.
8!
Well, it's actually not
this is
a main instalment of...
Oh my goodness.
The Realm of the Younglings.
So anyway, that's fine. I have read the first Live Ships, and my review will be coming out very soon.
Upset me.
You can continue.
I will no longer be looking at you for the rest of this video. Robin Hobb is one of the best authors out there. Don't say anything.
Funny for you to
This is fantasy that I can tell isn't for everybody. But if you love character-driven stories...
Because the second trilogy wasn't for you, was it?
I listened to Papa Gwynne. I was 15, all right? It was before all this booktube business, okay?
Nonsense.
I didn't have anyone to tell me how to go through this, but I've since learnt my ways.
You start again, I won't interrupt you.
Robin Hobb is just incredible at character work, and so whilst this series is not for everyone, as it does really heavily focus on characters, some people would say a slower pace, some people prefer the epic scale of a fantasy series, especially one this long. If you enjoy character work and you don't mind a bit more of an intimate core, then this will be for you. The Realm of the Eldlings. Robin Hobb is an incredible writer, one of the best prose writers out there, one of the best character writers out there.
I've got sensitive doubts.
You know you got a bad hip.
I've got
you might have a bad shoulder
doubts.
after this.
You know I do.
You do have sensitive doubts. I think that's the quote for this video. But yeah, Robin Hobb, there's nothing I can say that people haven't said more eloquently than I.
No. Yeah,
okay. Let's not rush in and say that so quickly.
So I'd like to agree with you.
But Robin Hobb is an absolutely incredible author, and I'd recommend her to everybody, no matter the genre you usually delve and dive into.
And I would say Robin Hobb particularly in
Ship of Magic.
In Ship of Magic,
right, okay.
Her multi-POV approach, it explores the human condition in such an incredible way, and that even though you're following characters who are making some rather questionable decisions, that you really see the sense of being and their sense of being in the world as well. So
what's the sequel to Ship of Magic called?
Mad Ship.
What's the one after that?
Ship of Destiny.
Fair enough. Now list the next 6 titles.
What? Oh, the ones you've read.
Yeah.
But I've listed the ones you skipped. So
deflection again. Go on to your recommendation.
The next one for me is Louise Erdrich, and I can't find my copies of her books right now.
That's a bit disrespectful, isn't it?
Not very good, is it? Wow. Louise Erdrich is one of my favourite authors. She's a Native American writer who is has reached very high critical acclaim, specifically with The Night Watchman and my personal favourite, The Roundhouse. Now, she does write stories from native voices, from Indigenous perspectives, and I love the way that she crafts, very Stephen King style, a whole array of characters in a town that associate with each other, that love each other, hate each other, and the way that she explores their relationships does remind me of Robin Hobb as well. You've got some incredible character moments. Now, my favourite is The Roundhouse, where we are following a boy who is trying to find his mother's assaulter. And the way that she goes about crafting his character and his family, and the grief that is between them in this horrible moment, is just written to perfection. It was so emotional and so powerful. So, definite trigger warnings. There are some horrible things that happen in her books, but they're very powerful and they're very purposeful as well. The Night Watchman is exploring laws that were not enacted around Native American rights, and they were after these sequence of events. So her books are really important. I think her books tell a story that we're not really aware of a lot of the time. And to me, that is an author that I want to read more of.
I need to pick up some Louise Erdrich, Ed.
100%.
Definitely. Next up, I have another series that I introduced you to. Nice. The Wolf Den by Elodie.
Who
Harper.
finished it first?
Sorry. Do you know what? I was just thinking you got too much free time.
You can start the war, but I will finish it.
Again,
Okay?
would you have read this without me?
Probably, yeah.
No.
Yeah, because she's friends with Dan Jones. I read everything that Dan Jones recommends. So, okay? I trust him. He likes live ships. Dan's my boy.
The Wolf Den, I did a review of this on my channel.
Did you actually? Promise?
Yes, I did. Before you'd read it. The Wolf Den is a historical fiction series written by Elodie Harper, which it's got heavy content matter. We follow Amara, who is a slave in a brothel in Pompeii in the 1st century AD. What is incredible about this is, again, rooted in the characters for me. We've got kind of the political machinations, the characters striving for agency, but I love that the character interactions dominate this book. The relationships they form, these characters that are going through such terrible times, the friendships they form is just incredible to witness. It feels so real, so magnificent. And Elodie Harper writes this with such wonderful kind of perception and insight. It feels so smooth, but also stripped back and hard-hitting at other times as well. I cannot wait to see her next release, which is Boudicca's Daughter.
Yeah,
and so it might be quite hard to distance from Amanda Scott's Boudica, but that's a series dealing with a very different kind of approach. Whereas Elodie Harper, it sounds like, can be a very different type of book. So I think we'll be able to separate them and enjoy them both for different reasons. But there we go. That is The Wolf Den. That is Elodie Harper, another series I highly recommend, and Ed Wood as well.
Yeah, Ed Wood, indeed.
Ed Wood as well.
Ed Wood, indeed. The Wolf Den. Please hold it up again, Will. It's an incredible trilogy. As someone who finished it before, Will, I particularly loved it. But no, in all seriousness, even though there are maybe 1 or 2 swords in it, I adored this trilogy. The tension that Elodie Harper brings to these characters with little to no agency is unlike any other book I've ever read. The way that these women exist at just the whim of the men around them, is incredible. The way that it's written. It's horrible to read about, and it was a struggle at times. But just seeing how Elodie Harper masterfully crafted these characters and their relationships, you had some really sweet moments. You had a lot of tears too.
You did.
I said earlier, I read books to cry. I read these to
Ticked
cry.
with this.
Tick. And the last one for me is the OG Madeline Miller, the original, the #1 writer of Greek mythological retellings, and it is Mary.
I'm
not
joking.
retellings.
It's a joke.
Okay. Don't ever diss Mr. Simpson like that again.
Sorry.
Okay? Do you get it?
Homer Simpson.
Thank you. So Mary Renault is a great author. She wrote one of my favourite books by her. Are the only 2 I've read. The King Must Die, which is about Theseus and the Minotaur.
I really need to read that.
And Heaven Under Fire?
Yeah.
Heaven Under Fire, which is about Alexander the Great. Now,
Fire Under Heaven.
Fire Under Heaven. Now, listen. She wrote in the 60s. The the knowledge around Alexander the Great was not the same then. William was rather upset with that book because it painted him in a really nice light. To me, it's the Alexander the Great as he should have been, rather than the narcissistic, egomaniac psychopath who was obsessed with conquering half of the world. And then when his men said, can we please stop, he then thought he would torture them and drag them across the desert, where I think 200,000 of them died.
What I'd say is I loved her writing style, but yeah, I couldn't really move.
And I understand the decisions she makes with her characters. I found the way that she explored Alexander the Great's relationship with his mother and his father were really interesting. The dynamic between those three was fascinating to me. Mm-hmm. But my favourite book by her is The King Must Die.
I do really need to read
about
that.
Theseus at Knossos. It's crafted very powerfully. The history that goes into it, the sense of cultures that she's writing about is so rich. And she was just a fantastic author. And I am very keen to read a lot more by her.
Very nice, Ed. And the last one for me, another series I introduced you to. Sons of the Girls.
It's my favourite Greek.
Barker. My number one favourite Greek retelling, Ed's as well. Mm-hmm. Pat Barker, I'd say, has a lot of the similar strengths as Elodie Harper. And this is almost like 95% historical, and then it's got like one or two fantastical elements.
Yeah.
But on the back, this is the opening line. Great Achilles, brilliant Achilles, shining Achilles, godlike Achilles. How the epithets pile up. We never called him any of those things. We called him the Butcher. That sets the tone.
Chills. Literal chills.
Honestly, her writing is incredible. That's one of the best openings ever.
Yeah.
And the paragraph following it is also incredible. There's something about following Apollo, chasing him on the beach.
Godlike swift-footed Apollo.
And Apollo says, you can never kill me, mortal. And Achilles says, but we know if you were mortal, I would have.
Ooh.
And it says that's what it shows about Achilles. No one would stop him.
Quick
even
a
god. But yeah, but absolutely incredible writer. I really enjoyed her book Regeneration, which is set in World War One. But I think for this is a level up for me. And it's quite similar to The Wolf Den in that we follow a character, Briseis. We follow her POV. She's made a slave to Agamemnon, Achilles, and other huge players of the Trojan War in the Iliad. And so, similar in that she has basically no agency. She is at the whim of men who control her, but she strives to do what little good she can. And it's just magnificent character portrayal. It's very hard-hitting. It's a book you have to be in a certain headspace to read. But if you are, I really highly recommend picking this up because it is a feat of literature that is rarely matched. And one of the books that I would recommend the most.
Yeah, completely. And utterly, it is incredible, and it's probably my favourite prose in any book.
Wow, that is big praise from Ed, but there we go.
Big praise for big prose.
Big praise for big prose.
You heard it here first, but thank you very much for watching our video. Let us know who are your favourite female authors in the comments below. We'd love to chat with you there, or either on our Discord, where we are regularly having wonderful discussions about books and other things. So please catch us there.
Truth and Courage, the Brothers Gwynne.
Truth and Courage, the Brothers Gwynne.